Welcome to Insight Builder channel, large language model automators, Python experts, and my dear friends. Implementing vector search in Django website, part 4. We have been trying to build the website which can take the natural language search query using a search bar like this that you are seeing here, and it will return the results that is populated on the HTML page. That is our objective. We have been following this particular presentation, and this is a series of videos that we have been doing till the last video, that is in part 3. We have got the basic project website as well as the application vector created. We worked on the FAISS Vector Data Store and understood how to get the data into the vector data store in part 2. In part 3, we built the page from the Bootstrap Jumbotron theme. This particular theme, we built the page, and then we understood how to build our own page from component pages. There will be header component, there will be footer component, and there will be the body component. We understood how to build the pages from that component parts. In this video, what we are going to do is we are going to start building the search.html page, render the search.html page with placeholder data, and finally we will build the program logic for getting the data from the vector store and then populating it in the front end. What will happen is, by the end of this video, we will be able to create such a page with the data that has been pulled from the vector data store. So here you see placeholder text. In this place, you will see the real text that will be useful for the users. Let's continue. Let this server be running. The server is running in this particular terminal. You can see that here. Let me go to the Vim, the terminal editor. This index.html page is no longer required to us, so I'm closing it. Views.py is what we are going to use for testing it further. And in the last video, I had created the base.html page like this. So I'm going to completely take out this data so that it will not create a problem. So I'm going to take out this data. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to create a new page called search.html, which I already have created using the touch command in the last video. I'll be opening it right now. Templates, search.html, and the page is open. We have to start by extending the base.html. So this is I'm not going to enter into the concept of inheritance and polymorphism that is available in object-oriented programming. The same concepts have been used for rendering the HTML pages in Django template language. How they are doing it, how they are implementing it is actually a longer discussion, which will not help us in completing the project. So if you guys are interested, do take a look at the Django documentation for further clarity. Extending base.html. Let me extend the base.html first. And let me also make the title block, title, end block. So whenever I am using these tags inside the file that I have extended, then I can give the data to it. So if I say search page and save this, and also I'm going to create block content and going to close it, block, end block. And inside this end block, inside this block, I am going to paste this content now. So I have taken this content from the base.html. I have taken this content from base.html and I moved it to search.html. And in the search.html, I have extended the base.html file and I am giving it a title called search page. We will be seeing how the output looks in when we test it. So let us go to the views.py, and instead of base.html, we are going to change it to search.html. I am saving it, and let me refresh this. And the moment I refresh it, you see that I have made a mistake here. I cannot say extending, I should say extends. So that is a mistake. I will correct it. Let me refresh it. The moment I refresh it, now this page is getting developed, getting rendered from search.html. It is no longer using base.html. So you saw that by simply changing the file names, we can actually render multiple different files. The point I want to place here is that in case if I want to create one more Jumbotron, all I need to do is take this entire div, copy it, and paste it. What will happen is, once we are able to paste it like this, you can create any number of HTML elements the way you want. So you saw that the moment I placed one more Jumbotron, the page extended and I was able to create one more big data on the front end. If you take a look at this particular page that has been provided by Bootstrap, you see there are smaller headings here and there are 3 different data here. So how to bring this data into search.html? So for this, we will go back to the examples, website, vector, template, and we will again open the index.html. And now in the index.html, we are going to take the line number 32 to line number 50. So this is what is going to render us the body of it. Let me close the base.html, it's not required. Okay, and in search.html, what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste, just a minute, I will again copy it and I will paste it here. I am going to leave the other Jumbotron that I created there itself. I am not going to remove it. So I have created a new page now and I am going to go here and I'm going to refresh. The moment you refresh, you see that I am having the main Jumbotron header, the data, and following that I have the new part here at the bottom. So like this, you can create templates by playing with the various parts. The reason why I am getting a different kind of output here is that I need to properly close the div. So if I so what has happened is I have, let's not get into the discussion of how to lay out the HTML. That will be a very different topic. So we simply have to remove the other Jumbotron just to avoid digressing into a different route altogether. So now there is a footer at the bottom, we have the heading, we have the Django, and we have the navbar. And this navbar is little bit different from this navbar. So we have got the placeholder data here. Now we need to change it to the data that we want from our server. So let's go to the views.py. We are still going to work with the test request only. We are not going to move into the logic. Let's first of all create 2 lists. First list is headings, and in the headings I am going to say this is heading 1. You will be seeing why I am doing this in a couple of minutes. This is heading 2. This is heading 3. And This is heading 4. Heading 4. Next, I am going to create content. Content is also going to be pretty simple list. This is content 1, and let me do this. Let me save it. Okay, now let me correct it so that it will be easy for me to correct it. Okay. Content 2, content 3, content 4, and I am going to close it, close the list. So there are 2 lists right now, and using this list I am going to create 2 contexts. So context, I'm going to create a single context. It is a dictionary, or you can say a JSON file, and the context name, the keys are heading, headings, content is content again. So this is the data that I'm going to send, that I have created from my logic. Let me actually make it as heading so that it will be same as the key that I'm using. Using this kind of a notation for the variables is very important, because when you're going to work with multiple files, we are going to work with views.py, we are going to work with URLs, we are going to work with the front-end HTML. It's always better to have the variables which are very memorable, and at the same time which is following a certain rules. So these are the rules that I am following, and thanks to those people who taught me this rule, I'm able to properly manage what is the data that is flowing between pages and the files. So I'm going to send the context this time to the front end. So this particular heading content actually has to come from the database or from the vector store. However, here I am emulating, I am showing you that by creating 2 lists, and I am going to send it to the front end. So that is my intention here. Let's save this, and let us go to the search.html. We have saved the views, but if I refresh it, you'll see that I am not finding any kind of difference here. So the data that has flowed from the backend to the front end is not getting used anywhere. So you have to first use it. So for using it, you have to start using the Django template language. In case of the lists in Django template language, we can access it only through the filter called as slice. I'll be showing it to you how to do this in the next couple of minutes. So we have to start. We are going to work with this Jumbotron first. So this particular part of the page, we will be working with that. We are going to loop over for head in heading. So this heading is coming from the views. This heading is coming from here, and I'm going to slice it using the filter command, slice, and I'm going to slice the first element alone. So this is how you access the elements that we are sending it from the views. So heading is a list. You see, this is a list that we created. And to access the first element of the list in Python, what we will do is we will use the index. So we will say index 0, index 1, index 2. In case of DTL, that is Django template language, we have to use the slice only. There is no other option. There is another option which is little more confusing. So usually I don't use that. And we need to end for. This is very important. And once you do this, now what will happen is, the data that has been sent from the backend to the front end will start looping over the for loop, and we can use that data in our front end. So in order to use the data, we need to use double curly braces like this. So we need to say head. So now the heading has been fixed. this is where the challenge occurs usually. So in case of Django, you can actually send lists separately. But if you send the lists separately, so I created two lists. You see, I created heading and content as two lists, and I created a dictionary and I'm sending it. But sending it like this is not very helpful because you cannot access the list element by element. So let me go back. Let me first show you what is going on. Let me first save this, and now let me execute this. You'll see that I'm able to change the heading. So this has been changed into heading.1. Next, I'm not going to work on the content right now. I will show you how to work on the content next. Next we are going to concentrate on these headings. So to do that, we have to first of all remove these two additional divs that is available. So remove that. And what we are going to do is we are going to see, understanding the parts of the page is also very, very important. HTML page is very, very important when you are going to work with Django template language, because you are going to take part. So this particular part, you see the heading, the content, the view details is inside this particular 3 lines. So from line number 19 to line number 23, these divs this div is creating this one part. So now I have removed the other 2 parts. So if I refresh it, you'll see the remaining 2 parts are missing. I'm going to again start a for loop, and I'm going to say for head in heading. I'm going to slice it, and I'm going to say 1 to rest of all the lists. So I'm not going to say how many lists are there, but how many other lists are there, it will render it there. And then I'm going to close the for. So you have to always close the tags in Django, or else it will create a problem. So you can see there is the end block, the block is starting, and here the block title, the end block is there. And this title page you can see here, the search page you see here, this is coming from this particular data that we have provided. So like this, you can start customizing the front end, the page as HTML page as per your requirement. Now that I have saved the data, excuse me, let me refresh this page. The moment I refresh this page, you see that I'm getting 3 elements back, but here I have only 1 div. So what is happening? This is happening because I am using the enumeration on top of this. So in place of the heading, let me remove this and then place head. So if I do this now, and if I save this, you'll see that this is heading 1, heading 2, this is heading 2, heading 3, heading 4. Like this, I have changed it. But if I have to access the content, I have to again run the list. I have to again similarly create a for loop, and I have to run it. However, here in this case, I will not be able to do it because I will have 2 for loops, and this will create an error in case of the logic. So the alternate is, when you are creating the views, it is always better to create a single list that is containing both heading and the content. So what I prefer to do is, I will create simply data, and inside the data I will have dictionaries. So there will be dictionaries like this, which will have heading. Let me complete this. Next, we can start building the logic of working on the views. So let's go back to the views. We know that the data that we are sending it as array of dictionary, we can populate it in the front end. So what we are going to do is, we are going to import these functions from LangChain library. So that I have used here, I'm going to take it up to the top. So I'll be importing embeddings, sentence transformer embeddings. I'll be importing recursive character text splitter. This is actually not required for our purpose, where we are only going to use it for getting the similarity search. So we don't need this, but when you're going to create the FAISS database, you will be needing it. And the vector store that we are going to import is FAISS. Next, what we are going to do is let the test request be there. We will continue on with the, wait a minute, let me, yeah. We will continue with the search function here. So here I have already created the search function, and the entire logic is present here. First, I am going to I'm going to get the query from the user. The query from the user is going to be a get query. What I mean by this is I am going to send a query in this particular text. This particular text box is a form that is created inside the header, and I'm going to get the query from this form, and I'm going to send it to this page. So what will happen is, let me show you what will happen in the actual page. So let me save this, and I'm going to remove this so that this I'm going to remove, because this logic we are not going to implement in this project right now. Let's go to the urls.py, where we are going to change the URLs. So I'm going to go to urls.py, and instead of test going to views.test, I'm going to open up search right now. So the search page is going to call the search function, and its name is search. I'm going to save it. We have already built the search.html already, so it will render appropriately, should not be an issue. With this setup, we should be able to execute this next activity. So what is coffee? Let me search, and the moment I ask what is coffee, you see this particular URL got changed. A new parameter called as query got updated here, and it got equal to what is coffee. And if you come to the server, you can see that this particular call, what is coffee, has been called here from test and query. However, we need to go to search, not test. So let us go to search and do the same thing. The moment I use search and go for the query, what is happening? I am getting an IURL. That's the second thing. But here in the server, we see that whatever query we are sending is getting printed here. It is getting printed because I am getting the query from the get request. So request is the object that is sent from the front end to the backend. So this is the backend. In that backend, I am getting the get value, and in that get value, I am getting the query key. So that will be equal to what is coffee here. Let's continue. Next, I am calling the embedding function from the model sentence transformer, and I have to load the vector store. In case of this particular project, the vector store is vector_db. So where is this particular folder? This particular folder is located in, cancel this. This folder is located in Git folders, website, vector, and vector_db. So this is the folder that I'm referring. Once I change this, then the query that is getting sent from the user will be used here. You can see this location. This location, the query will be placed, and the similarity search will be run. Once the similarity search is executed, then the data that we get from the vector database will be assigned to this docs variable. Once the docs variable has got the data, we can extract the data into this kind of a source content. Why I am doing this? You can see that the way I created the initial testing phase, I created heading and content, right? In the same way, in place of the heading, we will be using the source, and in place of the content, we will be using the actual data, the description of the source. So let me also do one thing. I am also printing to show you guys how the actual content looks. I am also printing the result docs for your reference. Let me also print one of the raw data also for your reference. So print docs and 0. So once I do this, let me again run this call right now. I have changed 3 things. I have added a new vector database in case of line number 33. And I have added a print statement to print the docs that is written from the similarity search, that is the first index. I am also printing, okay, here I will be facing an error in case of category.objects because I don't have any categories. So it will actually create an error. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to I'm going to comment this line out. In the future, when you are going to establish a complete website, we will be having the categories objects in the database. So we don't have the categories objects here, so I'm going to remove it. And we are having the results, and this result is placed inside the context, and this context is sent back to the server. So this is how the entire process works. Let's now see what happens once we refresh this page. I'm not changing anything, I'm just refreshing this page. The moment I refresh this page, the request goes back, and you see there is no any output on the page. Let's go to the server. So in the server, you see things are a little bit different. You see there is a lot of information here. So it has done some checking, and then the server has restarted. The query that we asked, what is coffee? The question that we asked is created, and then there's a page content. So you see the page content, and then the page content also has the source also. The global coffee crisis is coming. And following that, we have the entire source and the output. We know how the output is now getting populated. Just a minute. I want to show you one more thing also. Let me go back to the Vim. If you see at the top, so this is the first print that is happening, and then this is the second print that is happening. The second print will contain source and content. The first print will contain page content and source. First print will contain page content and source. Where is it? Yeah, metadata, and inside the metadata you contain the source. This is a second print. So this is containing the source, and following that you have the content. So this is what I was talking about. Now we can get the source and content, and we can move it into the front end. That is our next activity. For that, what we are going to do is we are going to go back to the search.html, and inside the search.html we are going to change only some things. So we are going to change this as results. The context has the key called results. So we need to call this variable only, not result.docs. Keep this in mind. The context is going to go as a dictionary or a JSON to the front end, and in order to reach or access this result.docs, result_docs list, you have to use this key only. Let me go to the front end search.html. So I'm going to slice the results and inside here I'm going to say head.source. I'm going to change it, and this is going to be head.content. That's not a problem. And here again I'm going to come and change it to results, and I'm going to change this to head.source, and it is going to be content. I'm going to save it. Let's refresh this page again. So this time you see I did not actually change a lot of things inside here, but right now you can see that the data has completely changed. You can see that the headings are coming from the source that it is getting pulled from the vector database, and you can see the content is also different. There are lots of data that is coming out, but it doesn't look good. So in order to make this look good, we have a couple of more filters that we can add, especially the filter called as URLs. So this is one of the okay, before doing URLs, we can say truncate words. So this is one of the filter that we can use inside the Django template language, and we can keep it under 35. So it will only send 35 words to the content, and you are also going to URLize the output so that all the URLs that you see will be different after this. So let me show you to you in action. That will be much better. Content, filter, truncate words. I'm going to give 35 and I'm going to URLize it. The filters can be chained the way I'm doing here. Now you see that the URLs are getting updated, and the number of words are also reduced. But still, we see that this particular the URLs are still long. So what we can do is you can use URLize URL trunk. So instead of URLize, you say URL trunk. And same way, if you go to URL above also, URL trunk. So it will try to truncate the URLs. Okay, so sometimes what happens is when you are trying to do such kind of filtering using the Django template tags, you might actually make some mistakes like this. So you have to visit the Django documentation. See, the point is I want to actually make the mistake so that I can show you guys how to locate the answers. So you have to go to the Django getting started with page, and inside the getting started with page you can go to the documentation, and in the documentation you will see a lot of information that is required for you. So what I want you guys to understand here is that every function is going to solve a particular problem. Whether it is a new class or a new framework, it is going to solve certain problems. So we need to understand how it is getting done. In this case, we have to go into the filters. So for that, we will go here and we will search. So we will say filter. And once we search for filters, you will see there are lots of replies coming. So you have to click on this built-in template tags and filters. This is where we have to look. And inside this, you will see there are lots of filters that you can use. And among those filters, we need to go down here and you will see there is URLize trunk. So this is the filter that you are looking for. So URL, it's not URL trunk, it is URLize trunk. So let us change this right now. URLize trunk. Sometimes when you are going with intuition, you might be wrong. So it's always better to recheck it. So once you review it, just a minute, I think I've made a okay. The mistake here is the way I have provided the number here. So in case of truncate words, you have to provide the number in the double quotations like this, or else it will throw an error. That is what it is throwing. So let me correct this also, and let me recheck that. Okay. Okay, so again, URLize trunk also need to provide the words, so that we have missed it. So we can say 15, we can say 10, we will remove this. We will make the header a little bit bigger. Okay, now we see that we are able to get a very neat looking output. So this contains lots of URLs. So let's actually increase the number of URL characters. So let's take it to at least 30, so that we can at least see what URLs they are giving, and we can take some decisions, right? You want the users to take informed decisions. So now you can see that this is from ResearchGate, this is from Fortune, and here it is something from ijoc.org. This is from Springer. Next, we can also increase this words. So instead of 35, we can take it to 50. So when you are going to create the front end, you can so easily change everything. You don't need to type everything again. So we see that we are able to get more output data here, and also it is still more controlled. This particular output is a little bit amiss, so we can change it. You can also use the truncate for the heading also. So here I have not used it for the headings, so you can use it for heading also. Head.source also you can truncate it, because this is having a large number of words, so you can truncate that also. But it will be truncating all the headings, it will not only truncate single heading. Now let's go back to the presentation. So we have seen how we can, let's also explore a little more. So let me try, instead of coffee, let me ask explain, okay, what is video? Okay, so it's a very random question. So you see here we are getting very different outputs. So all the data is nowhere linked. The sources are all different. These are all the titles of YouTube videos. And if you want, you can add the YouTube video links also. All you need is, if you want to add view details here, you can pull the YouTube video data and you can attach it to this particular href here. You see this href? So you can attach the YouTube video link here, and this will take you to the respective YouTube video also. This can be done with very simply. So you don't need to have you don't need to create a lot of backend work. All you need to do is, you can take this as an example and you can try it at your own liberty. When you are creating the vector database using in this particular location, you need to include the URL, the actual YouTube URL in the metadata. So you can take a look at this. So this page content is having metadata. You see this metadata. In this metadata, you can, instead of only having the title of YouTube, you can actually have the YouTube URL also. Once you have that, you can access that inside the logic, Django logic, views logic, and then you can use that and populate it here. So it's not that you need to have a database for this. In this case, whatever you are seeing here, it is not created from the database that is inside the Django. It is purely created using the vector data store that has been already prepared. I hope that you guys understood the entire process that we had followed. It looks simple. Okay, when you are going to place it inside the presentation, and when you are going to explain that we are going to do these steps, it might look simple, but when you are going to execute it, these 5 simple steps became more than 50 different steps, and it involved lots of programming as well as lots of different libraries, functions, and also code. We also work with Bootstrap, because Bootstrap is one of the most easiest framework that I have come across, and also it has got enormous amount of supporting frameworks and themes available for free. So this is very important when you are going to learn something, and when you are having an example that is already available for free, you can learn really fast. So Bootstrap is one such framework for front end, and for back end, as I was showing, even in Django there are lots of tutorial examples that I showed you in the beginning, and also there are many videos like this. So if you go to the documentation, it starts by showing you the tutorial, so you can get the tutorials here. Like this, you can learn and come up to speed in Django really fast, and you can make projects like this. Apart from this, you can host these projects in Heroku, or you can host it in Glitch, you can host it in Streamlit. There are various ways. You may not be able to host this particular project because it requires sentence transformer, torch installation, and a lot of supporting steps. You may not directly host this, but you can host Django projects, pure Django projects, that is without any challenge, like Python anywhere. So that is also one of the options that you guys have got. I believe that you guys have learned a thing or two from this series of videos. Do leave a like and share it with others. Subscribe to my channel for further updates on similar kind of discussion. With that said, I would like to leave this video with 4 words, that is practice, 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 practice. See you guys. Have a great time.